wanted to talk about my story with regards to father figure. So I grew up obviously with my parents. I was very lucky. I'm very lucky that I have parents that stayed together, still married today. Um, but I recognised very early on that my father seemed to stay away from the home quite often. He'll be working, and when he wasn't working, he'd sometimes be away playing golf. And I remember thinking it would be nice to sort of sit and spend some time with him, but the chances were few and far between. And even when he did actually spend time in the home, he was tend to be knackered, so he didn't really want to do anything and didn't want to talk. He just wanted to sit in front of the television. And I sort of had a bit of an ache inside of me, that basically told me that I wanted more from him, and I wanted to sort of get to know him. I felt as though he was a bit of a stranger to me. And my mum, she was great. My mum was she was always working. She's doing all the chores. She had a job herself. She had 3 kids to look after, so time with her was also scarce. And because I didn't really have time spent on me, I felt a bit lost and a bit rudderless, really, a bit directionless. And what happened as a result of that is I felt this sort of like hole in me, hole in my soul, as some people call it. And I realise now that was, lack of direction, lack of knowledge, lack of understanding. I didn't know what my purpose was on earth. And when you question yourself, and when you've got that sort of feeling that you're lacking or you're not like others, you watch other people and you watch other kids playing in the playground and you think, wow, they look happy, they seem to be able to talk to each other really easily. And I used to think, how do you do that? Because I just didn't feel as though I had that capacity, and I was anxious, a lot anxious. And of course, when you've got all of those things going on and you're not sure of yourself, you have to control it somehow, because it feels all that, the sense of unknown causes anxiety in itself. So when I'm stepping out of my comfort zone, going into doing something that I haven't done before, there's a lot of anxiety. And I always used to think, well, I'm just constantly anxious. I need to get away from this somehow. So I would control it, and that would be one way of me controlling was I've got to make it like a real thing. So the anxiety, I would tend to say to myself, this is my fault. So whatever was causing me anxiety, this is my fault, or I'm I'm useless or worthless, and would call myself lots of swear words, names, the worst words sometimes, because that was a way of me controlling it. I was able to sort of find a solution, close it off, put it in a box. I'll blame myself for it, and therefore at least I could then sort of carry on with life, but of course when you do that, your self-esteem just completely disintegrates, and your self-worth obviously the same. And that's when you go into suicidal thoughts, and you go into this loneliness. The loneliness was crippling. It was very corrosive, and that would cause me to have suicidal thoughts. And when you feel like you're on the periphery, when everyone else seems to have a guidebook or a tutorial of some sort, and I thought, why didn't I get one of those? Is that another thing that I missed out on? So you get into real self-pity. It's not very, self-pity is not attractive. But I didn't know I didn't know how to get out of that. And of course, I had great times. I remember playing out in the road, and I remember playing football. I loved playing football. There was stuff that I did where I felt confident, and I would do those things as much as I could. But when I went in the house and I went up to my room, that was where I tended to. That was my safety sort of zone, really. And that was when that would be when I used to, I would think about all the stuff that I wasn't getting. I wouldn't sit there and be grateful for all the things that I had. I was thinking about all the stuff that I didn't have. So I sort of found myself in a very negative pattern of behaviour, and I would punish myself, I suppose, and make me quite anorectic, as in I was sort of, I wouldn't join clubs. I wouldn't sort of ask girls out. I wouldn't try and make new friends. I was sort of ashamed of myself, and I just thought no one's going to want to know me anyway. And of course, when you do that, when you isolate yourself, when you disconnect yourself from other people, again, that just feeds all that negative thinking and the self-pity. So it's not a very nice place to be, and it's not very charming or attractive to others. And of course, when you're that sort of person, when you've got a group mentality, sometimes you look for a scapegoat. And I tended to be bullied. I wasn't bullied relentlessly. I tried to sort of be a chameleon. I'd try and get on with everybody. I'd just become what I thought they would want me to be. So I had the people that were intelligent, and I'd be doing nerdy stuff with them. The lads that were always sort of causing trouble, I would be a lad who caused trouble with them. With the lads that played football, I'd be I was sort of having a laugh and a joke. So I was different people to different people, and but that was the way I tried to sort of survive and try and stop myself from getting bullied. Or but my physical appearance was also quite a thing. I used to have greasy hair. I wouldn't wash myself. My parents sort of didn't have much money, so I'd go to school with clothes that had holes in, because we didn't have the money to we didn't have the money to replace them. So I was a source of ridicule for that. And of course, when you've all of this compounds together, you've just got this real desolate, despairing, feeling, this bereft sort of experience, this life experience. And I was almost gagging or thirsty for something to take all of those feelings away. And when I got to the age of 13 and I witnessed people drinking alcohol at Christmas. My parents didn't really drink. My mum would only drink at Christmas. My dad would drink maybe after a game of golf, but he didn't drink in the house, and unless it was Christmas. But when they drank in front of me, I saw them change. I saw my dad become more jovial, and I could see he lit up a bit, and I thought, that's what I need. That's exactly what I need. And I couldn't wait to try it. So they went out one day, and I drank a bottle of port. But as soon as I had that first glass, I just felt the warmth of it go down my cheeks, go down right into my stomach. It just felt like a Popeye experience with spinach. And I thought, this is too powerful to be good for me, but I have no other solution. I'm just going to have to I'm just going to have to drink. I'm just going to have to use this stuff to make me feel confident, because it took all that angst away. It took all of my fear away. It took all that self-conscious stuff away. I felt a part of, and I thought, this is the magic potion that I've been seeking. And of course, you know, even though I became aware that, you know, this wasn't good for me, this is quite alarming, what a dramatic effect it had, and can't be good. I thought to myself, well, I've just got no choice, so I'm just going to have to accept the consequences. And of course, that's what happened. So I became an addict, effectively, from that. I was an addict waiting in the wings, and once I got the drug of choice, which happened to be alcohol, you know, my emotional growth stunted, you know, because drink was a way of escaping my feelings, and I did that more and more often because I had a solution to it. So the less I was feeling, the more I was escaping my feelings, the less growth, emotional growth. So I came into recovery in 2003, and I had reactions of a child. You know, I felt very childlike in my reactions to life situations. You know, so and I hated my dad by this point, because I'd already told myself that the reason he doesn't spend time with me is because he doesn't love me. And of course, when you tell yourself that, it becomes very real. You convince yourself that that's the case, but actually, by going through the 12-step programs and doing an inventory on it, I recognised that there was a time where I chose to believe that he didn't love me. And what I mean by that was that although I missed him, although I missed the relationship that we could have had, I also acknowledged that there were ways that he was showing his love for me. It's just not the ways that I wanted him to show me love. And I chose to say that he didn't love me one day. And from that moment, that's when the resentment started towards him. So I started that off. It was a decision I made to believe that he didn't love me, when I knew before I made that decision that actually there were ways that he showed me. You know, like he'd fix my bike, he'd turn up at my paper round by, surprise, just to see me working, whatever, just to spend some time with me. So, he did make an effort every now and again to sort of show, if I was ill or really ill, he would always be there and be concerned and stuff. So, but I chose to sort of conveniently push those things aside and just tell myself that he didn't love me. So I had to deal with all of that in my my initial inventory, getting sober. And when I came to terms with the fact that actually this was created by me, this whole resentment was created by me, and that actually he didn't deserve any of the treatment that I gave him once I had started resenting him, then I needed to build that relationship. It came to me. It was my responsibility to rebuild that relationship. And in doing so, I sort of I'd always wanted to hug him, and of course I'd gone to hug him when I was a kid, and he used to push me away. I could see how uncomfortable he was with that, and he never had any intimacy. He started telling me things only recently about his childhood, and his dad was very violent towards his mum and them, him and his brothers, and so I decided that I was gonna, because I wanted a hug from him, and he probably would have enjoyed a hug as well. I thought, well, I can go and hug him as long as I don't expect anything from it. So I don't want to, create a situation where I was rejected. So I would go in with the idea that if I hug him and he won't respond, that will be what I expect. And of course, that happened a few times. He was uncomfortable, but he never pushed me away. And over the time that we've started to get to know each other again, we always hug, and he comes up to me now as well. So I suppose the point of this vlog is that all we have to do really is look at our own perspective, look at how we've created the situations in our lives, because everything effectively is, I mean, when you're young, especially when you're a baby, you have no other option but rely 100% on your parents to meet your needs. And some people don't get that. Some people are neglected from pre-verbal age, and their trauma and their issues from that will be playing out in their adult life. And I think therapy helped me a great deal to understand that actually there were behaviours, patterns, and deeper issues going on with my childhood than I would have known, and there was certainly stuff there that I would not have understood had it not been explained to me. So I think therapy for me was just as important as getting sober, but staying sober is absolutely essential. I have no other option than to put that as my number one priority. So my recovery comes above family, comes above my job. It's the most important thing, and I need to keep reminding myself that's where it needs to stay as well, because recovery gave me the opportunity to build bridges with my parents. It gave me the opportunity to make amends to people that I'd hurt. It gave me the opportunity to become responsible for myself and teach me tools to live by. So healthy reactions rather than unhealthy reactions to life. And it's taught me reality. I need to understand that life is difficult. It's not meant to be easy. It will never be easy. There'll be nice, lovely, luxurious experiences, but there'll be despair, and there'll be sadness and tragedies, and one of the biggest issues that I find very difficult to deal with is seeing or sensing injustice, and recovery has taught me to mind my own business, but equally stand up for what I believe in, speak up when I need to speak up, and my relationship with my father today is pretty much why I did this vlog, and it's given me the opportunity to sort of see life from his perspective. My dad's father left when he was 9, so everything that happened to my father happened before he was 9, so very young age. So my expectation that he was suddenly going to be a loving father and give me hugs, pat me on the back, tell me I was doing great and all that, when he'd received none of that himself. Although, to be fair, I didn't know any of that. I didn't know anything about him when I was young, so I had no information on what he'd experienced. But knowing that stuff now means that my expectations are based on reality. They're right-sized. I know what he's capable of, and I know what he's probably not incapable of. But equally, he's thawing. He's able to show emotion. He's become a lot more intimate than he was, 5-10 years ago. And I'm seeing another part of him now. I'm getting to know him at a deeper level than I ever have. And what that gives me is not only the security that what I'm doing is nourishing me, nurturing my own existence. it's also teaching me that actually people can come back, or they can heal from the most horrendous experiences. Maybe some can't, maybe there are people out there who have experienced horrendous sexual abuse or physical abuse, and there is just too much there for them to deal with. But I do believe that if there is a will, and they're willing to be patient for it all to happen, everybody can heal. If they're, I think if you've experienced horrendous situations and they've been ongoing for a number of years, you've built up a strength, whether you like it or not. You've actually built up a strength. You've got an endurance, a tolerance and an endurance that few people would have, and you've stayed alive. There is an innate strength within you there, that whatever has happened to you, you've managed to keep going. And I think there are people out there that are probably sitting there telling themselves that they are a bag of shit, when actually they've been incredibly strong, incredibly brave, incredibly they've got so much to offer. And I would, if anyone watching this video now thinks that what they've experienced means that they're going to be missing out on something for the rest of their life, there is always something you can do. There's always something you can look at to try and sort of change that narrative, or change the ending. Everyone's got a different way of dealing with stuff as well. There's loads of different tools out there. There's loads of different organisations. There's therapists, there's psychotherapists, there's psychiatrists, there's healers. There's all sorts of stuff out there, and whatever it floats your boat, use it. Go out there and do some research. Whatever condition you have, there will be an answer somewhere. We've got a lot of mental health issues at the moment in this country, and I think probably the world over, since COVID especially. But there's all sorts of stuff now available online. You don't have to go out and meet people, although I would say that is probably the root cause of addiction for me, is the fact that disconnected from others. I believe that I am one of those people that need to be connected to people. I need to be constantly sort of available and interacting with others. I do need my own space. I do need my own alone time, and I cherish that. I'm not frightened of being alone, and but I do need others. I need the support of others. I need different people's perspective. The world's a very small place if I'm on my own, and that's all my if my world around me is small, the world is small, and my head takes over and imagine stuff that doesn't exist, or I get into all the conspiracy theories and take things too seriously, take things too literally, and I start building assumptions and judgments and criticisms of others without actually knowing the full facts. And that's dangerous territory for me, because I'm not only am I wasting a lot of time and energy on something that isn't true, I'm also denying myself the opportunity to understand other people's perspectives, and understand actually that some people are fighting their own battles, and what they might be suffering, might their character or their behaviour might be just the only outlet they've got at the moment that keeps them surviving. So so listen, my blog today was about my experience with my father.